being here, Chris. I really appreciate it. And I'm super excited to dive in today. I kind of wanted to start at the beginning. What inspired you to launch Chella? And did you always envision it becoming a staple in professional studios similar to mine? Because it's been the longest product that I've actually carried in my studio.
Well, Meg, so glad to hear that and honored to be on your podcast. Thank you so very much for having me and thrilled to know that we're a staple in your business. Thank you. So the founder story for me is kind of crazy. How do you go from pro football player to investment banker, corporate finance to real estate developer and then go right turn, I'm going to do cosmetics. And oh, by the way, makeup and primarily for women.
Oh,
So I think it starts with the belief that when I was in the third grade, I told my dad I want to play pro football. And so that was that moment that I set an intention. And then I put the uniform on, I went out to practice, and I had this magical kid thinking that, oh, I felt literally like Superman. Like I got all this gear on, I can't get hurt. And then
yeah.
smack, you get knocked down, you go, oh, this is just pads. This hurts sometimes. But I had that moment of transformation where I felt different. And then I started manifesting and telling myself every day, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. All about positive thinking and visualization. And boom, 10 years later, I ended up playing pro football for the Steelers. And I think the subconscious driver for me was I spent time when I was in the fourth or fifth grade. My parents got divorced. It was amicable, but I spent time living with my mom and my dad both throughout the entire process. And there was a time when it was my sister and I living with my mom. She was working two jobs in an apartment, and it wasn't going for her the way she wanted. And she said, I can't do this anymore. She set an intention. She got more education. She had a vision. She started her own company. And 10 years later, she retired and didn't have to work again.
That's incredible.
Right. And I thought, it took two women consultants to kind of pull that out of me. I had started the company 10 years before because I always wanted to have my own brand and my own company. And I'd done a bunch of research about what was recession proof and what did people really like and want. And it boiled down to either sex, alcohol, or cosmetics. Those are the top three industries. And so I didn't want to do the first two. And I thought, well, I could do cosmetics. So we actually launched as an anti-aging skincare. And then
Oh,
about 10 years in, there was this opportunity for me to get involved in makeup. And I had been distributing this lash conditioner serum that went extremely well. And I saw how important eyes were. Eyes are
yeah.
everything. And I thought, okay, I need to create a brow and eye collection of products. So that's kind of how I got into makeup to answer your question in a very long winded way.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I don't think I realized that. So it kind of went through a lot of different phases as it began. What was kind of the birth of what Chella is today?
It was the fact that I was selling a product that was a lash conditioner that would literally grow your lashes. And so that was the genesis of, wow, I need to create products that go around the eyes and that can be used for that. And so we started off with eyebrow pencils, eyebrow gel, highlighters, all the basics that you need to be able to properly do a brow. And since then, we've, of course, expanded the line into incredible, vegan, cruelty-free, clean beauty with our mascaras, with an eyebrow cream now in 9 shades. Our eyebrow pencils are 9 shades. We're in R&D on an incredible brow gel, a tinted brow gel with growth attributes for brow enhancement. So we're looking forward to bringing that out probably first or second quarter of next year. But that's been in development for like 2 years, just because
That's
it's
super
so
interesting.
hard. Yeah, to get something that's clean, that's vegan, that's cruelty free, and then we put fibers in it, but we want the fibers to be organic, but we don't want them to dissolve in the formula. So that's got to be,
Mhm.
a strong enough fiber that organically will sustain, but not be plastic or something that's inorganic. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's amazing. I love what you have behind that.
thank you.
What was an aha moment that made you believe that this brand's had staying power in a competitive beauty industry?
Great question. I think it was when we started to get into beauty subscription boxes. One of the first ones we did was with New Beauty with our eyebrow defining gel. Gosh, that was probably, I'm going to say 12 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And they bought like 50,000 eyebrow gels and put them in their New Beauty tube. And the response was so powerful that all of a sudden Ipsy showed up and said, hey, we heard great things. And that was how we got into Ipsy. And as soon as we got into Ipsy, then it went to Birchbox and BoxyCharm and all these different beauty subscription boxes. But that was for a small indie brand. It's like these little things make such a big difference. So that really helped, get our name out there. And so we were on both sides of it. We really were direct to consumer in the beginning, but I just had this vision that we should be able to support professionals. And, if you are a fan of Anastasia or Benefit and they're great products, but you're a pro, you can't really buy those for professional use.
Yes.
So I love the ability for us to go into now we're at the JW Marriott, we're at the Ritz, we're at the Four Seasons, we're at the Waldorf Astoria. We're these incredible spas and salons all over the country. And now we're going global with that. And so we teach, train, and educate about how to enhance the service. So no matter what you're doing, whether it's a facial or a cut and color or a blow dry or a brow wax or a brow tint or a brow shape, at the end of any one of those services, offer your client a complimentary 60-second brow fill. I mean, Meg, you know better than anybody what just a quick brow fill can do for your look.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially after getting, I think for a lot of us, anybody actually, not even just women, getting a beauty service done, it's kind of what you go in kind of feeling your ugliest and you want to come out feeling your best. So I just feel like any way that we can elevate that feeling for the client, it makes a huge difference. I couldn't agree with you more. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, circling back to how you said that you brought on 9 shades for your brow pencil. It's not something you see super frequently. I think that's a big complaint that we have in the brow world of just not a lack of shade options and range. And when we're trying to be an expert at, bringing forward a really cool product to a client and we can't quite match them, it's so counterproductive. So, what was the reasoning behind starting with so many shades? Because, as I said, it's something that's we don't really see super often.
Yeah, no, another great question, Meg. We started actually out with six,
Okay.
and then by listening to our customers, we started to understand they wanted more depth and breadth. So we go everything from beautiful blonde to elegant ebony. We recently added graceful gray, which is this really great combo between being elegant ebony or just gray hair, but that graceful gray really has that carbon kind of color. And it's our number one seller in the UK right now.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, and then getting the tones right, right? Knowing that we
Yes.
need a warm, our dazzling dark brown is warm, but our delightful deep brown is more cool toned. The blonde is cool, but the light brown is warm. The taupe is cool. So, and then with those 9 shades, you can really blend out. If you use two pencils and you know what you're doing with color, you can create any color you want with
I
with the
could not
assortment
agree
that we
more.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've never in all of my years, because 'cause I've carried Cella since the very beginning that I, got into business, which was just over 7 years ago,
Wow.
and
Thank you.
I've had it the whole time. I'm obsessed with the brow pencil is my favorite. I've never had an issue matching anybody, and that's, like, my first selling point anytime I talk to a client or I talk to another professional. I'm just like, when you have that range, it just makes things so easy, and I feel like
Love that.
the clients really feel taken care of because we're not just like, "Hey, this is the closest match. Grab this one." It's like, "No, this is truly your color."
Yeah, I love that. And I want to add on to what you were just saying about taking care of your clients. That's kind of the whole idea of when you surprise and delight your customers by giving them something that they weren't expecting and doing it for free, then they're going to leave your place with a very warm and fuzzy feeling. They're like, oh, wow, Meg's really took care of me today because I was just going in for this. But at the end of the service, she said, "Oh, by the way, we have this new complimentary, service that we're going to add on." And that's the great thing about a brow fill is the way we teach and train on it. It's something you can do in a minute or two, but really change how your customer feels about themselves. But also, they're going to remember how you made them feel. That's what people
Absolutely.
remember is how did you make them feel?
Yes, that's such a great point. I love that. So, over your time, you already covered how you've kind of got all over the map when it comes to your career. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the early stages of building your brand, and how did you overcome
Yeah, yeah. There's so many. I,
them?
I, I think one of the things as an entrepreneur that I always try to advise anybody who wants to start their own business is always be raising money because you always are going to need more than you thought. The business plan never goes the way that you thought it was going to go. You think you're going to do this, and all of a sudden you have to pivot and do that because that's what the market's telling you, and that's what your customers are telling you. So you got to be prepared for that shift. And then all of a sudden it starts working and it starts growing, and now you need capital to expand. But if you're always having those conversations, then you have people to talk to as those needs arise that can kind of help you through that process.
I love that. That's a great advice.
Yeah, thanks.
Your brow pencils, as I covered, is one of my absolute favorite tools. Can you walk us through the process and developing that product and what made you confident it would stand out?
We've got an incredible manufacturer in Europe that's been making pencils for over 100 years, and so I think one of the things that we spent a lot of time. They make over 700 million pencils a year for the biggest brands in the world. And there's
That's
only a few people that do that. Yeah, thanks. But they are so exacting because they're German about their standards. So they were on the cutting edge of making sure that they had formulas that were clean. They were on the cutting edge of making sure they had formulas that were vegan. So when we sat down with them, they will basically take their playbook of thousands of different ingredients and we tell them all the constraints. We want to make sure it's clean. We want to make sure that it's vegan. We want to make sure that, all these check boxes are marked. We want to make sure that our pencils are soft and waxy because a lot of pencils, and I'm not going to name brands, they kind of go on like a stone. You feel like you're rubbing a stone on your face to get the color payoff.
uh-huh.
So our pencils will not last quite as long on the application side, but they wear incredibly well and they're soft and creamy to go on. So they're long wearing, but you'll go through the pencil a little bit quicker. And so people who know what they want, they're okay with that. So I think that to answer your question, it's being very mindful about what you want to bring to market as a brand and then sticking to those guidelines and then finding people that can execute and build those kinds of products for you. So we've been doing business with this company since we started doing 2008. So
Wow.
wow, that's 12, 14, 16 years that
That's
it's been the
incredible.
same vendor. Yeah. So yeah, we're
That's nice to see that consistency.
right. And then like, have you had a chance to play with our eyebrow cream at all?
I have a little bit here and there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really unique product because it goes on like a creamy mousse. You got about 2 minutes to work with it, and then when it dries and sets, it's on for 24 to 48 hours. I tell people put that on, sleep on it, and wake up in the morning, and your brows are still going to be there. It does not wear off. You can go swimming, you can take a hot sauna with it, unless you
That's
get
why I
some.
always bring it up,
Yeah,
summertime.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's great for that, especially beach and all that. So again, that was another product that we spent a lot of time doing R&D on until we got the formula just right. And people who use that product are obsessed with it because it meets a particular need that they have. So that's what we're trying to do when we're designing products is really listen to our customers and make the products that they're going to fall in love with.
I love that because I think that when we're looking at the beauty industry and kind of cosmetics as a whole, there's a lot of like, we created this product, you guys need it kind of a thing. Whereas I feel like you guys are kind of reverse engineering and taking the feedback and then creating products that people are actually asking for. And I feel like from a consumer standpoint, that makes so much more sense than just kind of creating these things out of nowhere and trying to force your client into or customer into purchasing. Whereas as somebody in the beauty industry, we actually want to solve problems. We don't want to just have a product that's the product of the month that we have to sell to people. And I think it makes retail sales a lot easier when you're, going problem to solution versus just a retail product trying to sell, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. No, well said. I couldn't have said any better.
So, how do you balance creating for makeup lovers? Because obviously that's a big part of it. And then also professionals like brow artists or beauty professionals. Are there different strategies for each audience?
I think the first thing is if the product is the queen in this case of what your goal is, and you make an exceptional product that is meeting those needs because the needs of a professional in terms of what you put on your brows and your face are the needs of your customers. So there's an alignment there. The difference is in how you communicate. Like we'll
Okay.
talk differently. We have a pro website just designed for pros where we have tons of training and education and videos and guides because we really want them to understand, the thinking behind it. And we've created that based on the feedback that we've got from pros. Yet when you go to Chella.com, it's completely different messaging in terms of, what
Yes.
they're looking for. They're more about tell me that it's vegan, that it's cruelty free, that it's clean. And the pros are more about, tell me about how I'm supposed to use this on my client. They want all those things. They expect it, they demand it, but it's more about how am I going to integrate this into my service?
Mhm.
Teach me how to do a special brow event or do, brow shaping or face shaping, all those things. But there's a lot of folks that come into the industry that don't. And we have all that training set up for them, a how to brow guide, how to brow map, all those different resources that they might need as they come into the business. And we
Yeah, that's
love
actually
working, sorry.
no, you're fine. That's so interesting because I feel like as somebody who's worked with a lot of different brands over the years or researched into working with different brands, I feel like when we look at retail, the retail side of it versus our professional products, there's less education there. So what if you can kind of give us a kind of a little rundown of what education do you offer for professionals on your site?
Yeah, thank you. Another great question. I think that's one of our big differentiators in the pro space is that if you go to our website, we have, I think, 24 to 30 different guides on everything from, you know what, I want to get it right. So I'll just read them off to you
Yeah,
since I've got it here at my fingertips. We have a revenue activation plan, which teaches you how to sell through in retail. We have a display activation bundle. So how to merchandise and display. We have incentive programs. So the more you buy from us, we actually pay you commissions and give you free product, not only to the owner, but to the person that you might have working for you if you're a bigger, smaller salon. That is your number one salesperson. So we reward both the owner and the salesperson.
I love
We have bounce back cards for hotels because we work with a lot of big hotels that invite the guest from the hotel to go to the spa to get a free treatment, to get a free brow makeover, to get a free mini mascara so that they are incented to walk into the spa. We've got a planogram which shows you how to merchandise. We have staff contests. We have brow worksheets. We have PR and media guides that teach and train you all about our brand. We've got a product knowledge guide on every one of our 65 products so you know exactly all the talking points. We have color matching guides. We got how to build the custom kit guide. We have brow menus. We have the difference between pencils and creams. We have brow and face shaping and mapping. We have sanitation guides. We have keys to retail success. And then we have marketing materials that you buy from us that display, hey, ask us about our brow film. And then we have all kinds of videos and how to's on how to, use the products. So
I
we go
love
we
that.
go deep there.
Yeah, that's incredible. I feel like something that we have seen over the years is also with brands getting, I don't know, I want to say almost too big for their own britches, where they just don't really care about the little guy. And so to see a company actually care about us smaller, especially solo beauty professionals, is really important and really cool. And I feel like something that's going to be pivotal to kind of launch you guys even more so forward in the coming years, because I do feel like there's a little bit of a shift where we want that kind of one-on-one support, where we feel like we're really working with a company that cares. And that goes for both us carrying it and then also, something that we feel proud to sell to our clients.
Yeah, Meg, bring up such an important point about that because there is a massive shift in the industry right now where there's I think somewhere around 3 million licensed beauty professionals out there in the US and I think 1.5 million of them, over half of them are now solo operators. So they're going to Phoenix Salon Suites or Sola Suites or Regency Suites. They're going to these different places so they can actually rent their own room because they don't want to be renting a chair in a big salon. They want to have their own environment. And so, you can go in right now and rent a studio and it might be set up for two people, for three people, or one person, or
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want. They'll configure to your space so that you can create your own location. And for solo operators like that, I think they're the people that need the most support. And they're really the market, and thanks to you for your exposure and bringing us on, giving us an opportunity to talk to that crowd because we're here for you. We have everything that you need for the training, the education. We want you to be successful. We do free, webinars to teach, train, and educate about everything that we do. So yeah, but there's this big shift. People are wanting to become more independent and more in control of their lives, which is great because then they can operate that way.
Yes, I know. And before we jumped on the started recording for the call, we talked a little bit about how you guys are supporting those individual, solopreneurs, if you will, with revenue and creating more of an income stream with retail. Did you want to go into that a little bit like we discussed prior?
Yeah, thanks, Megs.
Yeah.
It's such a great lead in. Thanks. So I think what's interesting is the statistic for hairstylists or for makeup artists or for facialists is they will sell about 10 to 11% retail products to services. So if they're a business that's doing $10,000 a week in services, that means they're doing about 1,000 a week in retail. So 10% of whatever you're doing in services is going to be retail. And we've taken personally accounts that were doing that 10% number. I've taken one company, Essential Spa and Salon Boutique in Bakersfield, to 100%. So
Oh, wow.
they were doing 100,000 a month in services and 10,000 a month in retail when I met them. And when my consulting partner and I were done with them, they were doing over 100,000 a month in retail and
Okay.
100,000 a month in services. But most of the people I can get to two or 300% gain. So I can take them to 20 or 30%. Total services will be retail. And it's so easy. It's just demonstrating product. It's just making women more beautiful than they already are. Or guys, who's ever in the chair, do a quick little service on them. demonstrate the products, and then teach them how to do it so that they feel comfortable being able to, buy the product from you and do it at home. But that's kind of, cosmetics one. The best example of that is if you walk into a Nordstrom's, a Macy's, a Bloomingdale's, a Saks and Image, you walk into any cosmetic department. What is the one thing that you always see in front of every counter?
Testers, testing things
Testers
out.
and a chair and a chair, because the number one goal of the woman behind the counter is to walk in front of the counter and sit somebody in the chair and make her more beautiful. So if you leave a woman standing at Lancome in front of the counter, she'll buy $35. If you put her in the chair and make her more beautiful, she'll spend $135.
That's crazy.
That's
But
almost a
honestly, it makes so much sense,
yeah,
you
that's
know?
a 400% jump. So that's why there's a chair in front of every counter in America at any cosmetic that you walk into. And even obviously Sephora does it and
Yeah.
Ulta does it on the end caps. They'll have chairs out there where they're trying to, get somebody to sit in the chair. But it's really prevalent in department stores. And that as a professional, as a solo operator, that's what you have all day long is somebody
Mhm.
in your chair. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a really great point. I mean, it's something that's not even just common knowledge, but like factual. You know, we have the science
Yeah.
behind it, the data that proves that it really truly is something. And I think for those of us who have been in the industry, even maybe not making quite as much as what you are saying, maybe if we streamlined it a little bit, we could get more along with your numbers. But I feel like for any of us who have worked with clients long enough, we've seen that turnover. We've seen the try on the product, immediate sales. And even if they're a little bit hesitant, the benefit is that we're gonna see them in at least, 4 weeks later. So if they're hesitant the first
100%.
time, you do it again the next time, and you're probably gonna get that
Yeah.
sale. So I
Yeah.
think it's
Good point.
cool we have that repeat customer aspect, and we also have the added bonus to where, opposing, on the opposite side of somebody like a department store, we're actually building trust with the client. So we're even a little bit of a level up. We have that bond
For
versus some
sure.
stranger.
So, just gonna add on to that real quick. How many times do you think, how many weeks go by for you before you see the same client again?
It varies, I would say,
On
but I would
average.
say the average is probably every 4 to 6 weeks is usually our brow
Right.
clients.
So the reality of that statement is nobody sees your customer, nobody more than you.
Mhm.
Not the dentist, not the doctor. There's nobody that touches a client more than a hairstylist or a makeup artist because it's that
Absolutely.
every, 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, nobody's touching your client or seeing your client more than you are. So to
Mhm.
your point, you are building, bonding and rapport and trust. And then you add, and that's kind of, it's a little, commercial for anything. Add a
Yeah.
complimentary something to the end of that service. It doesn't have to be Chella. Love it to be Chella, but if you do
Yeah.
that, you're really going to increase that ability to make your customer look and feel better and also sell some retail products.
Absolutely. And I think the other cool part is that we can even go a step further. I do these little demos and things like that as you guys have recommended. And as I've grown over the years, just using the product and showing it to the clients, I tell my students the same thing. I'm like, we have to do the demo. That just I feel like the element of applying the makeup is one side of it. You're giving them that little gift of feeling better. And then the flip side of it is also the educational side of just showing them how to use it. So they're not only feeling good about how the product looks, but they're feeling good about the usage and the ability to walk out of the studio and still be able to go home and use the product and not be like, I don't know how you did that. It's another level of care. Okay, real talk. If you're still avoiding threading because you think it's too complicated or you've been learning from random YouTube videos, babe, that's like trying to learn surgery from Grey's Anatomy. My hand-time threading course is the real deal. I'm walking you through exactly how to hold the string, nail your tension, keep clients comfortable, and make their brows so clean they practically thank you in tips. It's self-paced, it's online, and it's literally a skill that let me raise my prices and still book out. So stop winging it and start threading like the boss you are. The link's in the show notes. Go get it. And I love that aspect, and I feel like it all kind of encapsulates not only good retail sales and, upping that end of the month, week, or whatever income stream, but also just another level of building that care, with your client and customer retention.
Well, for sure, Migs. I mean, you nailed it because if you don't teach and show them how to do it, but they get excited and buy the product, then they go home and it sits in their counter in the drawer and they never use it because they're afraid. So,
Yes.
that's why we like to teach. We'll do one and then we're going to teach you how to do the other. And we want to
Love
physically put
that.
it in our customers' hands and have
Yeah.
them do it. In terms of business building, just another thing to add on, we have refer a friend cards. And so you can literally ask the question. So, if your customer is Susie, hey, Susie, what do you think about how this looks on you today and what I showed you and what I taught you? And they're like, I love it. I got to get the pencil. Guess what, Susie? Here's our refer a friend card. Anybody you refer, bring them in here and we'll give them a complimentary brow fill. and now
Love that.
you're building your business and you're
Yeah.
helping because you made your customer feel and look a certain way.
Absolutely. And we can even take it as far as, getting it in front of more eyes. I recently did a little quick demo reel on Instagram with your guys' product and it did so well. I think I posted the reel not anticipating anything. Honestly, my client that was in there, I was filming a video of it and she was like, "Hey, do you mind posting that cuz I want to see how you like specifically fill my brows in?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I sold 4 brow pencils just from
Oh my
posting that
gosh.
video on Reel.
Wow. I love to
It's another way of not even having to I didn't even have to have those 4 people in my studio or behind my
right.
chair, and I was able to retail those products, so I feel like the reach is just kind of at its it's booming right now, so, I mean, anywhere you wanna take it.
Like, wow. Again, you keep dropping these bombs on me. So, social selling is projected in the next 10 years to be the fastest growing method of selling in the entire world, social selling. And that, I don't know if you saw the announcement QVC just made. They're partnering with TikTok and they're doing,
Wow.
yeah, TikTok lives on QVC because QVC is realizing the shift is social selling. I think
Uh-huh.
I think I saw some ridiculous statistic about TikTok, and we use TikTok Shop in their affiliate program, which is amazing because
Oh, cool.
anybody who's an affiliate on TikTok can go to TikTok Shop and find Chella or any other brand that they love and start posting and selling and earning commissions through paid by TikTok. So you're going to get paid, and the whole infrastructure is already built. But they've gone from
Absolutely.
like nothing to 6 billion a year in sales in like the
It's
last two
crazy.
years. Yeah, so the social selling. You said it.
Yes.
I'm just giving you some more detail.
No, I love that, and it's actually really cool to see somebody who has been around as long as QVC to be tapping into that industry. I feel like you couldn't get more clear signs that that's, the route of the market and where things are
Yeah,
going and something to take advantage of. I mean, maybe even going from what I did on Instagram to doing something on TikTok and seeing, maybe double or triple what the sales could be.
I think it's brilliant, Megs. I really do. I commend you for having that vision just to post like that because that's how it happens, and that's part of you know how do we evolve our business? If we're not shifting, the business will move away from us.
Yeah.
QVC, they had to shift because the business is moving away from them. And this is a great way for them to get reconnected. But even as a solo entrepreneur, we all have those same things where what's happening? Yeah, it used to be Facebook and then it was Instagram and then it was this and now it's TikTok. And it'll be
Mhm.
something different in 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But here's where it's at. And so you're just being able to bend with the shifts and take advantage of that. But I love it. What I would say to you is do more of that. I love it. That's
Yeah,
so
right?
cool. Do a do a product feature every week. This week we're going to teach you about brow gels. Next week it's going to be how to use a razor or a dual blending brush. Who knows? I love it though. Congrats.
Absolutely, I think that the applications could be endless there, and it's really
Yeah.
cool. Other thing is, the benefit of how fast the market moves is that things and like posts and reels and like that, they have a expiration date so we can recycle, which is a really cool way of, just bringing it back around for a more fresh doing, a video the first time and a stagnant post the next time and still being able to recycle. We're talking about the same product over and over again, but being able to create different content pieces and getting in front of different, maybe one person does really well with the video, another person does really well just reading about it.
Right.
And so we can reach so many different people.
I think to support the pros, and I'm certainly no expert on this, but I've been doing a lot of reading on it. Like Canva has an AI feature, and you can now take video, that's the content
Oh,
that you're creating, push it into these different apps, and say create 10, 30-second bits for me around these different things, and it'll take all the videos you shot and push them together and
I
create
love
10 different snippets for you so that you're not spending, a week trying to edit this stuff out. There's now
that. Yeah.
AI tools that will help you edit the content you've created. And I think,
Yes.
yeah, something for anybody who's interested to research into. I think that's how AI is going to be our friend.
I agree, and for somebody, smaller like me, wear so many hats. I mean, any business owner wears a billion and one hats, right?
Yeah,
So anytime that we can pass that torch on to somebody else and help us, do what we need to do while still having the time to do what we really need to be doing. Let AI handle the stuff that doesn't need to be hands-on for us. We can start with
yeah,
that one piece, and grow from
yep.
there. I love that. What are some common mistakes you see artists making when retailing products and how can they avoid them?
I think the number one thing is product not being displayed. So
Mm,
how are you merchandised and how are you displayed? And if people can't see the product that you have, then there's no visual cue to ask about it.
uh,
So yeah, things and it's got to be merchandised really well. right? Like
Yeah.
just walk into a Sephora, walk into an Ulta, and just kind of look how things are merchandised. Generally, you're going to see a lot of merchandise imperfection, or like a Planet Blue or Planet Beauty. Those different kinds of stores and outlets. Wherever you see kind of prestige, just look at and see how things are merchandised and displayed. And we're super big on that because it's sending a visual imperative. Oh, I gotta check that out. Before and
Yeah.
afters. What are the billboards that are around the display of the products? Here's the products, but have a little shelf talker that's going to tell
Yeah.
you just a little bit about that. So you might then be saying, well, Megs, tell me about that. How does it cover 24 hours? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I love that. And you can even, I would say, support it further even digitally, having the same kind of stuff of why this product, why that product, and why do I even have this on my shelf? I did a recent post also of sharing my shelf, like a little shelfie. And so I
Yeah.
walked through why I carried certain products and why they were my favorite. And I think that kind of, builds on what you were saying about how are you pivoting and how are you marketing the product itself.
And you mentioned digital, which is a great call out because if you got it merchandised and displayed in reality in your store, is there an opportunity to showcase what you have in your store on your digital site, on your website or, favorites or Linktree or whatever, so that people can kind of get a feel for, what you're about with the products that you carry and sell? And, how do you guys talk about that?
Absolutely. I love that. How do you see the role of beauty professionals evolving in the next few years, and how is your brand preparing to support us?
I think we touched on that earlier. I think what's happening is that there's this disintermediation where beauty professionals that 10 or 20 years ago, they all worked under the roof of a company, of the neighborhood salon spa. And they were, and some of them were doing booth renters. And now I'm just seeing this big shift where professionals are realizing that they don't have to work for somebody else. They can work for themselves, and they're creating an opportunity in an environment to have their own studio, however and wherever that is, so they can build their own business. So I think that's the biggest shift that I'm seeing, and how we're prepared to support it is with all the training and education, because that's what everybody needs. If we're going to be successful, we have to help you be successful.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about events that you have done, and I've personally run into Chella at like trade shows and things like that. What other events and support do you have for like in-person learning versus just like the website that you have a lot of, bonuses and resources at?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to be doing more of that, Megs. We do trade shows. We do a lot of events with our partners. Typically, we like to go in when we're opening an account. We'll do a training in the morning, and we'll work with them to coordinate and do an event that evening so they can invite all their best customers in. It'd be Brows and Bubbles or whatever it's going
Oh,
to
I love
be,
that.
and have some kind of event where we can do brow makeovers from, we'll train from 8 to 10 or 9 to 11, break for lunch, and then we'll have an event from 1 to 5 or 2 to 6 or 2 to 9 or whatever is going on with the owner, and then we'll anniversary that. A lot of spas and salons will have these get-togethers where they invite all their customers in for special treatments, and they might have. We're doing one in Texas this weekend where I think it's at Adari Spa in Texas, and Blanca, one of our sales reps, is flying down there. She'll be there for 2 days. And the spa operator is just very sophisticated. They've got 4 or 5 brand partners that will be there. And so there'll be a special thing for pedicures and for massage and for hair treatment and brow makeovers. So it's a way for her once a year to pamper her best customers and
I
invite
love
them in for this evening of beauty, if you will.
Yes, that's so brilliant. That's so supportive. And I do feel like I don't know if you're feeling the same way being from the partnering side of it, but I feel like our trade shows have kind of taken a new route. I feel like they've kind of, what they were a few years ago is not quite what they are now. And I think that we're starting to see a lot more of these brand smaller pop-up events where they're more intimate gatherings like you were just talking about, more on one-on-one with their partner programs and things like that. How do you feel the route of kind of the trade show atmosphere of being really big and huge and kind of in your face and overwhelming versus these smaller intimate gatherings that brands are having?
Yeah, I much prefer the smaller, intimate gatherings. I think there's a company out there that I would give a big shout out, Live Love Spa, that's done an absolute
Yeah.
brilliant job because they curate just a select number of brands. So they might have, 30 or 40 or 50 brands come, and then they'll curate and they'll do it regionally. So they'll have one in Miami, one in New York, one in Texas, one in California, one in Northern California, and they'll invite 50 to 100 spa salon owners in that space to attend. And generally, you're there for a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner. And
Mhm.
there's, these activations, and there's, kind of the open event where you're at your table presenting, but you have these chances to meet the people at the breakfast or the lunch or the dinner. And it's generally kind of a 2 day event. So there's a lot of time where you actually are able to make a human connection. I love those kinds of events.
Yeah. I think that makes so much more sense. I know that there was times when I went to a trade show and I was there, solo and I just felt so overwhelmed. You had 30 seconds to really get to know a brand. There's 10 people waiting behind you and you're trying to have this conversation with somebody and it's just impossible. So I
Yeah.
love that. And I definitely feel like, at least from my side of the industry, that's something that we're really like needing and wanting. So I'm excited to hear that brands are feeling the same way on the other side of it.
Yeah, I think for sure.
To take it to a different route and turn the conversation a little bit, what is your personal go-to when it comes to your line with Chella?
That's a great question. I mean, for me personally, the only product I really use, I test them all, is the brow
Mhm.
gel. So I've got big brows, and so when they get a little bit long and I haven't trimmed them, I'll tame them with our eyebrow gel. I think my favorite product, just because of its performance, is the eyebrow cream, and it's the one that intimidates people the most because it's so rich
Mhm.
and a little goes so far. It's so highly pigmented. So you really need to start like at the middle of the brow and go to the tail and then get that application in. Then you can kind of feather in the front and then you can blend out. But I just love product performance and that one
Yeah.
because it can last 72 hours, 48, no problem. So yeah, and but I'm super super excited about our tinted brow gel that we're bringing out with fibers, and it's all organic and vegan and cruelty free. And I'm excited about the fact that we were ahead of that and started reformulating everything like 10 years ago to be that way.
Yeah.
So we're
I
we're
love that.
yeah, thanks. We're EU and UK registered for that, though, to be able to sell into the EU and UK. There are certain certifications that you have to have, and they literally go over every single ingredient in your ingredient deck. And if your formulas aren't 100% pure, they kick you out and you can't sell there in the EU and UK. So we're registered and completely compliant with that. We're Health Canada compliant. We're Prop 65 for California compliant. So everything that we need to have done, we've done to make sure that our brand is really pristine when it comes to, following all those regulatory guidelines.
And I think that's also just like another layer of you guys really not only protecting, the people that are selling and retailing your products, but also the customers who are actually using it and applying it. I love not having to be concerned about things like
Yeah,
that.
thank
It's
you.
one less thing for us as the professional to be worried about. And I think when you guys are so forthcoming with that information, it takes one, less homework into us researching a brand. And I think taking those elements is just like something that we, beeline for when we're looking for products and
Yeah,
things to carry. Who or what inspires you creatively when developing new products?
primarily our customers. Yeah. We've got a great team. So we get a lot of inspo from our team. Lola and Kayla and Sarah are all involved in our product development. So yeah, it's a combination of all those things. We try to really be 360 degrees. And our manufacturers, they bring us great ideas. So we get a lot of inputs, which I think is what you need when you're trying to create, and bring to market a great product. And we'll
I
take our
couldn't agree.
time with it. It's like we've been working on this tinted brow gel for 2 years now, and we've gone through at least a half a dozen different vendors on it. And we finally found, kind of the perfect fit of manufacturing and capacity and performance and their ability to listen and build out the product that we want the way we want it. So
Mhm.
that's what makes great partnerships, is being able to find those things and bring them together.
I agree, and not rushing the process is a really huge element. I think that
Yeah.
could be said for anybody in business, right? Not
Yeah.
pushing that and not being impatient. Is there a quote or mantra that's helped guide you as a CEO and creator in this space?
You're having some great questions today. I love it. Um, I think it would be breathe.
I love that.
Yeah, I think breathe and be in the present moment. Especially when you're running a company and you're trying to build a team and you're trying to build the business, be thankful and grateful for every moment that you have in the present moment, because that's the moment we live in. Like right now,
Yeah.
this is you and me in the present moment. I don't have to worry about what's going to happen. I don't have to worry about what happened. I'm here with you right now and so enjoying. Did you hear that train go by? You did? Okay, sorry about that. Might
No,
pick
you're
up
fine.
on. Yeah. So yeah, no, because that's the gift, right? And it
Mhm.
helps you, it helps calm yourself when you're not worried or anxious. And the reality is, you can't be worried or anxious about anything because it's not real. It's your imagination. What's real is this.
Yeah.
That's you're not nervous or anxious right now. You're just in the
Yeah.
moment. So that's the moment we live in. So that would be my
I love that, and I think that's a
yeah.
really important lesson for anybody in business or life.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it applies across the board. Kind of rolling off of that, what is a standout lesson that you learned as a founder or brand leader that really just, like, stuck with you throughout the process?
You have to love your team members and employees like family. At least for me, that's how I run the business, is that I care tremendously about each and every one on our team. And that's how you build a team that is dedicated to, being the best that they can be individually and collectively as a team. The only way that you can be successful is by a team. It's never by a person. So you got to bring everybody with you.
Absolutely. I love that, and I think that, again, like I said, I've mentioned it a few times throughout this conversation of just I think really just why I love the brand Chella and, like, why I think it stuck around so long and why I feel like it's in a really good room, really good, marketable product and also really great partnership on both sides of it, just with my communication with your company and also just, like, the resources that you provide. I think that what you're saying as far as making sure your company feels like a family, I think you extend that really well to your partnerships even.
Oh,
I feel like
thank
we can
you.
feel that the brand cares, and I think that that is something that's severely lacking, unfortunately, in other partnerships and, larger brands and things like that, and so I think that it's something that we've all kind of gotten the ick for of that kind of, not feeling any support and that we're lucky to be buying from them and kind of that kind of relationship, and I think we're all kind of pushing that out and searching for other avenues and routes to take it. Feeling unsatisfactory with certain brands, and I'm stoked to be somebody who can put your company, in front of brow artists and beauty professionals because I do feel like over the 7 years that I've been partnered with you guys, I've had no complaints and, I felt very supported, and I feel like it's something that's easy when business can be so tricky and difficult and taxing.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have something that's just been consistent and, comfortable.
Wow, Megs, thank you for that. We're honored to be able to be, partnering, and I don't want to be remiss, but that's the other part of it. Without customers and those relationships, you don't have a business. You got to build the team, and you got to love them and take care of them, and then you got to treat your customers the same way. And so we look at those partnerships in that same breath. So thank you for bringing that up because it's so important. We're thrilled to be able to partner with you and all of our partners, and it means the world to us. And I'm really grateful for your kind words and support today. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. This was such a fun conversation. I can't thank you enough for being here. Just really quickly, is there anything that you wanna share with the listeners or anything that you have coming up soon that you'd like them to know about?
Well, let me ask you: do you have a coupon code for Megs?
I don't think I do.
We got to get you one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. We'll make sure to
let's
put that
get
in the
you.
show notes.
Let's get you with Kayla. Yeah, that would be it. I wanted to share with all your customers. Come. Get, we got to get a discount for them and a reward for you, so that because you're help spreading the gospel, and we appreciate it. Yeah, no, I think I'm just very grateful for being able to be on the show. It was a lovely show. I had so much fun. Enjoyed all your great questions, and we'll always be here for you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next Thursday.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.